The movie starts with a scene in Foshan City in 1935, during a late afternoon. Ip Mund is having dinner with his family in their fancy house. While they're eating, a martial arts teacher named Liu comes to challenge Ip Mund to a fight in Wing Chun, the martial art that Ip Mund is really good at. At that moment, Ip Mund invites Liu to join them for dinner, even though Wing Sing, one of Ip Mund's relatives, doesn't seem happy about it. After dinner, they start fighting, and Ip Mund wins. Liu then asks Ip Mund not to tell anyone about what happened, and Ip Mund agrees before Liu leaves. However, unbeknownst to them, a man named Yuan, who's flying a kite nearby, saw the whole thing. The next day, Ip Mund meets his friend Kwon at a restaurant, where Kwon suggests they should establish a cotton mill. Meanwhile, Yuan tells everyone at the restaurant about Liu losing to Ip Mund, and soon everyone knows about it. Liu finds out what Yuan did from his student and goes to the restaurant while angry. When he gets there, Liu argues with Yuan until Yuan's older brother, Lin, steps in. Feeling like he was proven right, Yuan challenges Liu to fight Ip Mund. While at the restaurant, Yuan approaches Ip Mund and asks him to explain how Liu lost the fight. At that moment, Lin steps in, scolding Yuan and reminding him that it's not right to embarrass others. Lin teaches Yuan a lesson that embarrasses him, and Yuan leaves. Shortly after, a policeman named Li shows up and belittle martial arts while talking about firearms. He even shows his gun to Ip Mund, but Ip Mund quickly disarms the gun from him, making it fall to the ground. Later that night, Ip Mund gives some money to Kwon and tells him to share the profits once their business succeeds. After that, Kwon asks Ip Mund to teach his son martial arts, but Ip Mund tells him to find another teacher. Shortly after, Lin asks Ip Mund to spar with him, but even though Lin tries some new moves, he can't beat Ip Mund. Meanwhile, Ip Chun shows Ip Mund a drawing, but Ip Mund is too focused on his training to pay attention to him. This upsets Wing Sing, who tells everyone to leave and tells Ip Mund he should spend more time with his son instead of hanging out with friends. The next day, a group of martial arts experts from Hong Kong, led by Jin Shanzhou, arrives in Foshan. They want to start a martial arts club there, but first, Jin wants to challenge all the local masters. After that, each master fights him one by one. Meanwhile, Lin visits Ip Mund and tells him that all the masters in Foshan have been defeated and asks him to intervene. Not long after, in a tavern, Jin and his accomplices eat. At that moment, the tavern owner says that they can't be considered great until they beat Ip Mund. When they hear Ip Mund's name, they go straight to his house with some locals. Upon arriving there, Jin challenges Ip Mund directly. Even though Ip Mund refuses, but Jin keeps insisting, while saying that Ip Mund is scared of his wife. Ip Mund then replies that a husband should respect his wife, not be afraid of her. Jin also mentions about the origins of Wing Chun, saying it was created by a woman named Wu Mei Da Si. After Wing Sing agrees to let him fight Jin, Ip Mund asks everyone to leave the room before he starts fighting. During the fight, Jin provokes him by saying some rude things to Ip Chun, which makes Ip Mund more focused in the fight after he folds his sleeves. Shortly after, Jin was defeated, and he leaves Ip Mund's house. The next day, as a token of gratitude, all the people of Foshan give gifts to Ip Mund at his home, where Kwon once again asks Ip Mund to teach his son Wing Chun, but Ip Mund refuses again because he has no intention of taking on a student. 2 years later, in 1937, Japan started invading different parts of Asia, including China, and causing a lot of suffering for the Chinese people. By 1938, Japan had taken over Foshan, making life very hard for its residents, including Ip Mund. Because of the Japanese invasion, Ip Mund and his family lost everything and became very poor, struggling to survive. One day, when they were running out of rice, Ip Mund went to the market to find food. At the market, he met his friend Kwon, who was upset because he couldn't pay his debts. At that moment, Kwon suggested Ip Mund help manage his factory, but Ip Mund didn't want to owe anyone anything, so he politely refused and decided to work hard to support himself instead. One day, when Wing Sing fell ill, Ip Mund decided that he needed to find a job. After looking hard, he finally got a job at a coal mine and started working right away. The next day, during his lunch break at the factory, Ip Mund saw Lin and some other respected masters from Foshan. At that moment, Lin noticed that Ip Mund hadn't eaten his yam, so he gave Ip Mund half of his own, intending it for Ip Chun. After that, Ip Mund asked Lin about Yuan, but Lin hadn't seen him since the incident at the restaurant. After they talked, Lin went to look for a metal box that had Yuan's kite in it. Shortly after, some Japanese soldiers led by Colonel Sato arrived. One of them, Lee, who now worked as an interpreter for the Japanese, said they were looking for a Chinese fighter to fight Japanese karate experts, and the winner would get a bag of rice as a prize. Upon hearing this, Lin decided to take part, even though Ip Mund forbade him. But Lin insisted on while asked Ip Mund to find his metal box. When he got to the Japanese headquarters, Lin saw Liu fighting against Japanese karate experts. After winning, Liu got a bag of rice and left. After that, Japanese general named Miura said that he wanted to fight against 3 opponents. Upon hearing this, Lee went to find people to fight against Miura. Shortly after, Lin and 2 other masters volunteered to fight. At that moment, they didn't just want the rice, as they wanted to stand up to the Japanese. They got onto the arena and got ready to fight. Unfortunately, during the fight, Miura quickly defeated them, even though 2 of the masters surrendered. Lin prepared to fight again, but he couldn't win. Sadly, he lost the fight and his leaf. The next day, while working, Ip Mund found the metal box Lin was looking for, but Lin didn't show up for work that day. Soon after, the Japanese soldiers came back, still looking for fighters. At that moment, Ip Mund asked Lee about Lin, but Lee didn't say anything because he was busy finding fighters. So, Ip Mund decided to join them. When he got there, Ip Mund saw Liu fighting against Japanese karate experts. After Liu won the first fight, he wanted to fight 3 opponents at once. But after a while, Liu gave up. After that, Sato suddenly shot Liu in the head, killing him instantly. Upon seeing this, Miura got angry at Sato for what he did and warned him not to do it again. At the same time, after seeing Liu killed made Ip Mund really angry. While Lee was looking for the next fighter, Ip Mund, filled with anger, stepped forward to volunteer. When he entered the arena, he asked to fight against 10 opponents, which surprised Miura. As the fight begins, Ip Mund fight the karate masters fiercely, driven by his emotions. This shows how dangerous martial arts can be when used by someone skilled while lacking empathy. After defeating all his opponents, Miura asked Ip Mund to come back, but Ip Mund said that he didn't come for rice. However, Lee translates this to Miura by saying that he would come back. After that, Ip Mund left, while carrying Liu's portion of rice with him. After giving the rice to Liu's family, Lee, who was with Ip Mund, got scolded harshly and even slapped by Ip Mund himself. At that moment, Ip Mund accused Lee of betrayal and dishonor for letting his brother die. When he got home, Wing Sing saw Ip Mund's injured hand and took care of it, realizing that he had been in a fight. At that moment, Ip Mund felt useless, but Wing Sing comforted him, saying that they would overcome hard times together. The next day, Jin and his gang stopped a truck from the cotton mill factory. Now with Yuan became one of them. They went to the factory, and Jin attacked Kwon when he refused to give them some money. When Jin started beating Kwon in front of his child, Yo ran immediately to tell Ip Mund. When Ip Mund heard what happened, he quickly went to help. Meanwhile, knowing that Kwon didn't have enough money, Jin gave him some time to get it before leaving with his group. When Ip Mund got to the factory, he met Kwon, who, along with the other workers, wanted to learn Wing Chun from him. So, Ip Mund started teaching them Wing Chun from that day on. Meanwhile, at the Japanese headquarters, Miura told Lee to find Ip Mund because he hadn't shown up yet. The next day, while playing with Ip Chun, Lee saw Ip Mund at his house and told him that Miura wanted him to come back to fight him. Soon after, Ip Chun came out, followed by Satao, who had a gun. At that moment, Ip Mund immediately protected his son. But when Satao saw Wing Sing, he immediately fell for her beauty and Ip Mund stopped him. Realizing the danger, Lee quickly told Ip Mund and his family to leave right away. That night, with bruises from Sato's actions, Lee came back home and let Ip Mund and his family stay there temporarily. Feeling grateful for Lee, Ip Mund told his wife they needed to move to Hong Kong with Ip Chun. The next day, Jin and his gang came back to the factory, demanding money, but Ye refused. They started fighting, so when Ip Mund arrived, he tried to stop them. At that moment, Ip Mund wanted the fight to end, but Jin got angry and told his friends to attack Ip Mund. So, Ip Mund fought against both Jin and Yuan. During the fight, Jin lost hearing in his right ear after Ip Mund hit him. Defeated again, Jin and his friends quickly left. After that, Ip Mund noticed Yuan stayed behind, so he gave him the metal box that belonged to Yuan's late brother. At first, Yuan hesitated, but then he accepted it when he learned about his brother's death. Before they parted ways, Ip Mund advised Yuan to choose the right path in life. Later that night, Lee told Ip Mund that the Japanese had surrounded the factory, knowing Ip Mund was there. Lee warned Ip Mund not to go there because it was dangerous. Meanwhile, the Japanese soldiers at the factory gathered the workers and hurt Kwon because he wouldn't say where Ip Mund was. Soon after, Ip Mund gave himself up to the Japanese because he knew fighting back could mean death. On the other hand, Miura wanted Ip Mund to teach Wing Chun, so he lessened Ip Mund's punishment. But Ip Mund refused and challenged Miura to a fight instead. After that, the Japanese soldiers quickly arrested Ip Mund. At that moment, he told Kwon to take his family to Hong Kong. Later in the prison hallway, Miura talked to Sato, asking him to kill Ip Mund if he lost the fight. After that, Miura visited Ip Mund in his cell and said their fight would be watched by everyone. Additionally, he wanted to prove that Japanese karate was better than Chinese kung fu. After that, Miura left Ip Mund. On the other hand, Kwon is taking Wing Sing and Ip Chun to Hong Kong, where Wing Sing tearfully asks Kwon to return, regretting not supporting her husband's martial arts training. Worried about Ip Mund's safety in the upcoming fight, she asks Kwon for a chance to be with him. Meanwhile, Sato warns Ip Mund that if he wins the fight, he will immediately kill him. After that, Lee advises Ip Mund to surrender to avoid death, but Ip Mund responds with a silent smile. The next day, in the fighting arena in downtown Foshan, General Miura waits for the master who will fight him, surrounded by the people of Foshan. Shortly after, Ip Mund arrives with several soldiers. After that, the final battle begins. During the fight, Kwon, having changed his mind, brings Wing Sing back to Foshan to support her husband in the fight. After Miora's defeat, the people of Foshan cheer for Ip Man's victory, but suddenly, he is hit by a bullet in his left shoulder, causing him to fall. The chaos leads to a rebellion among the citizens of Foshan. At that moment, Quan manages to take Ip Man and his family to safety in Hong Kong amidst the chaos. However, when Quan returns to Foshan, he is shot in the head by the Japanese, leaving him mentally disabled. Later, Ip Man and his family move to Hong Kong, where he opens his first Wing Chun school. Moral lesson from the story: if you challenge someone to a dinner duel, make sure you bring enough dessert to sweeten the deal. Otherwise, you might end up fighting over leftovers instead of making friends.